So next up, public works.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I'll report on three topics tonight briefly. The first one is regarding the Stewart Road corridor, and I just wanted to let you know that the city engineer of Pacific, city engineer of Sumner, met with the executive director of the Transportation Improvement Board last week, and it was a little bit of a lobbying effort, a little bit of educational effort to make sure that the funding agency understands that the next phase of the Stewart Road corridor, how the two cities are looking at that, and that we're wanting to partner to get that next segment completed. And Steve Gorchester, the executive director of TIB, adamantly said that that is about the only way that we will get funding for that remaining piece of the corridor. So he was pleased and very receptive that we reached out to them ahead of the funding cycle. But it's a long way to go before we get there, but this is just one of the steps along the way. A little less, it's a good news, bad news scenario on the next information. This is related to the Interurban Trail, and the city has had federal highway money to do some of the design work for it to complete the corridor, and has had this money for over 10 years. Well, the rules have changed for the federal funds related to highway funds over the last couple of years, especially after the ARWA funding and that era where we were trying to make projects shovel-ready and utilize all the funds. And the city, we tried to have those funds reappropriated and extended, and we were told no. So the good news in that bad news scenario is that it appears we will not have to pay back the funds that we'd already appropriated because we had not completed the design work on the project. This has all been communicated verbally and by email, but we're expecting a letter to come over the next few days to confirm all of that. So unfortunately, it's a little bit of good news, bad news. And there was, I attended a meeting a week ago related to the FEMA project that's doing the flood insurance mapping in Pierce County, and I just wanted to let you know, I don't have the dates yet, but FEMA and Pierce County will be sponsoring an outreach to the communities that are affected. And so when I have the dates of that outreach in the two areas where they'll be meeting, I'll make sure that I pass that information on to council. And that's what I have to report on tonight, unless there's any questions.
Questions?
Thank you.
Councilor Putnam.
Can we make sure we get copies of that draft flood map when it's available as well?
Yes. Make a note.
Excellent, great. Okay. Community development.
Mayor, council members, a few items to report on. Last time I mentioned the GMA grant that we had sent in a revised scope of work for that to see if we could keep our grant money. They sent us back today their response, and it's pretty positive that we'll likely keep the money, but it means a very active scope of work to complete before the grant money is supposed to be taken back. So we'll be pretty busy on the comp plan changes in the coming months, and they'll be related to the transportation element of the comprehensive plan, the natural environment element of the comp plan, and also an update of our wetlands mapping to get a more recent update. Also included as part of that is not in the scope of work, but we are going to be looking at our capital facilities element too to get that updated along with the transportation plan, because they kind of go hand in hand. Another grant that hopefully we'll be able to keep is the Morgan property acquisition, the CFT grant. That one we sent on our report to the King County. They're the ones who help administrate that as to, I would say, points of understanding with Mrs. Morgan on the responsibilities of the city and her in obtaining the property. She had her attorney take a look at it, and it looks like we're on the same page. So hopefully if the grant folks say we keep it, we'll be in line to get that wrapped up sometime later this year. There's a little bit of work involved, but if we keep the money, we'll be getting another piece of property, it looks like, for a passive park on the West Hill. Speaking of marijuana businesses, as Richard mentioned, the city attorney, what we're doing right now in terms of the ordinances is that we have the city attorney draft what we call a letter of courtesy to inform the legal property owners and the businesses within the city of the passage of the ordinances that prohibit the recreational and medical marijuana. As part of that letter, we're telling them, we're going to let them know that they'll have so many days in which to cease and desist their operations in the city, or they will be sent what we call a notice of violation, which is part of the first part of the process for code enforcement. The letter of understanding or the intent here is something that's not required, but we're doing it to let them know, give them a forewarning what's coming. The one thing that we're looking at in the letter is how much time do we want to give them before we start putting out the notice of violations. We were discussing in-house, some thoughts for 30 days, 60 days, or even a week. And we'd like to get a little bit of feedback from the council as to your thoughts as what would be reasonable and putting the dates in which they'll have in which to cease their operations on that. See if you have any thoughts on that.
Comments?
Like 24 hours of work.
Councilmember King.
They're not just in violation of our current marijuana laws, they're also in violation, have been in violation of not having business license.
That's correct.
So I think 30 days is reasonable as long as we explain the fact that the only reason we held off was because we were taking these matters up and we didn't want to inconvenience them if we decided to pass them.
Right, and that's in the letter.
So as long as we do that, I think 30 days is more than sufficient.
Mm-hmm.
Further comments from council? Councilmember Jones.
I'm in favor of the 30 days also, just to give people the time and the owners of the property to go through their process of, shutting down the business and preparing for that vacancy. Other than the code enforcement, there's the legality issues associated with operating the type of business that they are operating.
Right.
Within the city limits.
Any other comments?
Okay, so we'll go with 30 days. The last item is just a quick update, planning commission meeting that's coming up on the 24th. We'll be having a public hearing on the revisions to the legal and non-conforming use regulations. That'll be going through. We'll be providing what we call a revised copy of the land use element that includes the shoreline management policies that were approved by the Department of Ecology as part of the Shoreline Master Program. As a courtesy to the Planning Commission, let them know what the new format we're looking at for our elements, and that we're moving ahead to finally get everything adopted on that. I might add that the city attorney is looking at the draft ordinance now so we can get the final adoption of the Shoreline Master Program. So hopefully we'll have that before the council pretty soon. And hopefully we'll have a draft of the natural environmental element for the Planning Commission to take a look at also. Any questions?
Councilmember Putnam.
Comp plan update reminded me. Would we be able to, sometime in the reasonably near future, put our existing plans on the website for the public to be able to get?
That's been under a lot of discussion to upgrade that website, get our comp plan on there, all the maps that go with it, and also get all our permit applications, but that's in the works, and it's just taking a little bit of time and working with IT and getting that taken care of. So, yes, that's definitely on our plate.
When we're talking about doing amendments and discussing amendments, that the public knew what we were amending before we made the changes.
Yes, I certainly agree with that.
Any further questions from council? Thanks, Sarah. Okay, public safety.
Good evening. Tomorrow, we will have concluded our annual firearms qualifications. We have 2 people left, and that will be done. At this time every year, we complete performance evaluations on all the employees. We started this about 3 weeks ago, and I've set a deadline in February to have those completed. And I'm in the midst of, we're rewriting the comprehensive emergency management plan, and it's tough. It's not my forte, but I've got assistance from others, and I hope to have that completed by June.
Is that when our extension runs out?
July 1, yeah.
July, okay.
I think we're on target.
Good. Okay.
And that's it. Are there any questions?
Questions from council?
Good.
Okay, any council members have anything to report on that is not part of a board or committee? Member Steiger?
Yeah. I mentioned about Richard Bradley, who was a longtime volunteer on our fire department, that we should have some recognition by the city for him. I understand that the family reached out to us for some recognition at the funeral, but it was we didn't have time to put anything together. I don't know whether the FRA or where they went, but I think we need to do something. We can probably get more of the background on him and everything else. Jim Jaquist, who lives across the tracks, who was his chief for quite a while, also a volunteer with him for quite a while, would probably be the best person to get some background history from how long he was actually on as a volunteer and everything. So we could do something for that family.
Would you like to take that on and we can work together and get something put together?
I can do that for you, yes.
That would be great. I'd be happy to work with you on that.
Okay.
That's a great idea. Anything else?
So I like this time.
Okay. Any other council reports not board or committee? No? All right. I'm bringing down the boards and committees. Finance committee. Did you meet on the 19th?
We meet next Thursday.
Okay. Next Thursday. All right. Governance committee? So my understanding, there was a meeting scheduled last week.
Well, we never formalized it. We had the dates, and that's, if I had been given notice, I think I would have, but I think we're just trying to figure out dates and no meeting.
Well, hopefully we can
And I
figure that out
do-
because staff stayed here until
Right,
after
and I do
7.
want to apologize, but I mean, Stacy never got back to us, you know, she gave us 3 dates. Josh and I made ourselves available on the dates that we were available, and then we never got the confirmation on the one day that Josh and I were actually available. That's why that happened, it was an oversight.
Is there an opportunity where we can maybe set it at a regular time and then cancel if not needed kind of thing? I mean, can you guys get together and see if you can work something like that out?
We can, I mean,
Try.
we haven't had a first meeting of the year yet, so once we meet, we can establish.
Put that on our agenda for reference.
Perfect, that'd be great. So that way we can get it out and then everybody knows when you're meeting as well. And what I'd like to do is when you meet, if I can make a suggestion, and create a list of things that you're working on, just so that it's available when people ask or something. And I'm thinking about using that other bulletin board in the hallway I thought about today, and just listing all our committees, who's on them and what each of the committees are working on, you know, and have it out there. I think that would be really good for people in our community to see and know who to talk to and what's on the agenda, and post the agendas out there. Anyway, I think that's something that we could do in the future. Okay, Human Services Committee.
Katie's not here to report on it, nor is Stacy. We had a meeting last month, and I don't wish to discuss that meeting.
Okay, that's fine, and I think some things were already resolved from that meeting as well, too. So, okay. Public Safety Committee, I think that got postponed. We were supposed to meet on the 11th, and it got postponed, and have we set a new date yet?
No.
Okay, all right.
Now, yeah, Stacy, or, Katie asked if we could reschedule that for next week or something, because she will not be able to make it this Wednesday.
Right.
But yet she wants to be sure that we make it on a date that you and Richard would be available.
Okay, so we can discuss that after tonight, or if you want to send
I don't know, you have to get with, but Stacy,
Okay.
I'm free, so I would say that Katie is probably the person that
So
we have to schedule.
the only day that works for me next week would be Monday, which is a holiday, because the 17th through the 20th, I'll be in Olympia for Association of Washington Cities like conference, and then the Washington State Labor Council conference, and then Olympia all next week, except Monday. So,
So,
but that's a holiday, so we won't have staff here.
okay.
So we'll have to schedule it for the following week. We'll have to get together and figure that out. Okay, Public Works Committee.
Public Works met last Wednesday. Several items that were discussed. First one was appointment of myself as the chair
Yay.
for the coming year. We talked about some latecomers agreements, pedestrian crossing on Skinner Road, railroad bridge, because of train, looking at putting a third rail in, so possibly talking to them about putting a pedestrian bridge across. We'll see how that all works out. Interlocal agreement with Sumner related to the continuation of the Stewart Road through the bridge. There's a change order upcoming related to Stewart Road. Valentine reconstruction change order. Surplus of the public vehicle, Councilmember Steiger and myself took a look at the vehicle, discussed the repairs and cost, and that was brought up at the meeting as to have the city take a look at that vehicle versus the cost associated with a purchase of a new vehicle in the future. There were some issues concerning about the fire station safety with the possibly marking up the road, as well as possibly signs, lighted signs on the approachment of the fire, especially on the east side coming up over the railroad tracks. You don't have a visual until you get over the tracks. I communicated in an email with the VRFA, Eric Robertson, about those issues. I have not received a response from him, so I'll bring it up tomorrow night at our VRFA Board of Governance meeting. And brought up the issue related to the striping, still on First, we're cattywampus. See if we can get some of, at least stripped off some of the bad areas. Then we talked about, no, that's pretty much about it. That's where we're at with the last public works stuff.
Okay, questions? All right. Technology? I think
We meet on the
we're meeting
19th, yes, 5 o'clock.
Park Board, anything to report on the Park Board?
I believe the meeting's been changed from the 18th to the 11th.
To the 11th? Okay. You don't think so?
Should be
Is this 17th?
It's the 18th.
Yeah, I thought it was changed.
On the 11th?
Never
to the
mind.
18th? Okay, so the Park Board will be meeting on the 18th? Okay, perfect. Planning Commission? Anybody? Okay. Pierce County Regional Council?
I met last Thursday as part of the Transportation Coordinating Committee, and it was a presentation from Puget Sound Regional Council staff as well as WashDOT staff, and it was largely bureaucratic, just keeping up the technicians apprised of some of the changes and how we're going to proceed with this year's round of grant-funded applications, how to fill them out, how to complete them, as well as the paperwork that's required for us when we have existing money, how often to report, the format. So that was a big part of the meeting. The last part of the meeting was a debriefing on the application process for earlier in 14 and some of the lessons learned to help us do better jobs with our applications for the next funding cycle.
Yeah. And then South City Association, my deputies will be meeting this Wednesday. South County Area Transportation Board. Like Jack stepped out of the room, but I believe they're going to be meeting next Tuesday. So another next week. Valley Regional Fire Authority, we meet tomorrow night. Okay. Moving on to